the Harwich Cultural Council. I'm going to officially call the meeting to order at 4:02. We do have a quorum in the room. And because we're meeting remotely, I see Charlie has arrived. Because we're meeting remotely, I do need to read something to open the meeting.
Hello.
Charlie, we hear you. And if you could just put yourself on mute for now until I need you to speak, if that's okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
How can I'm here, but I can't see, you can't see me. How can I do that?
Let's see. Kathy has arrived. Chris, over to the right, you should have a box that's, it's over to, or at least it's on my right, and there will be a audio, kind of an audio button and a video button. And you'll just need to click on video.
Computer audio, no audio. Where is the video?
There is, yeah, right up on the right. There you go. I see. Okay, Charlie's coming in. Over to your right, Kathy's coming in. Okay, good. Chris, over to your right, there's a go-to meeting box.
Yeah.
And if you open it up, right at the very top, you'll see an audio button and a webcam. I mean, a video. And I see an administrator coming in here. All right, so I'm going to get back. Hopefully, Chris, you can sort that out. We'll try. Let me just get the meeting kicked off, and then we'll come back and take care of that. All right, so we did call the meeting to order at 4:02. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, G.L.C.30A, Section 20, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Harwich Cultural Council is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen or view this meeting while in progress may do so by logging in. There is an agenda on the town webpage for Harwich Cultural Council by logging in as specified at the top of that agenda. So officially we are called to order, and I'm going to open up first to public comments, and I am scrolling through. I do not see, it does not appear that we have anyone other than our wonderful support team over at Channel 18. Thank you very much for being here. So it doesn't look like anybody from the public is here. Any announcements from our council? Anything you would like to share at this time? We do have an agenda, but any announcements that you'd like to make? All right, so let's move on. First of all, ratification of our February 13th, 2020 minutes. It's been a while since we've met. I did email all of you the February 13th minutes, and I did ask for you to take a look to see if there were any edits or anything that needed to be made. Everybody said look good. So I went ahead and made an executive decision to have those meeting minutes posted as per Robert's rules. So today, as I was guided by the town clerk's office, I need to just ratify that decision. So if someone could just make a motion to ratify the decision made by the Harwich Cultural Council chair to post the minutes.
I move.
Second.
All right, I'm sorry, so who moved? I apologize.
I did. Roseanne.
Okay, Roseanne Shapiro moved and Charlie seconded. And because we are meeting remotely, we do have to do roll call votes. So I'm gonna just kind of go around the room here as I'm seeing folks, and I just need you to yay or nay on the approval of the ratification. So you can take your mics off. Lorinda, I'll start with you. Yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Dinah?
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you. Charlie?
Yeah.
Kathy?
Yay.
Roseanne?
Yay.
Chris? Hey, Chris, can you hear us? You might just want to take yourself.
Can you
Thank
hear?
you. Thank you. And I am also a yay, so that's unanimous. Thank you all. So those meeting minutes have been ratified. Treasurer's report. So I've been trying to keep all of you just updated per open meeting law. I can keep you updated. We just can't have any discussion. We can't be voting on anything, but I can keep you updated just with various things. So let me just give an official report based on what we have so far. I have reached out to all of our grant recipients given what is going on with COVID-19. And I just want to report that out of our 55 grant recipients for 2020, we
How
have,
many?
I believe it was 25.
Okay.
I believe it should, yeah, I'm pretty certain it's 25, but we should have that in our documents. I'm just looking at my spreadsheet here, which has everything on it. So 25. So out of 25 recipients, 4 of them have submitted their reimbursement request, and those are either processed and paid or in the process of being processed. So 4 of those were able to go ahead and carry out their projects, their events, as they had originally planned, because it all fell before the changes were made around COVID-19. So 4 of them have been taken care of. The rest of them, just to update everyone, a lot of people have decided to just wait and see how the fall plays out, either to postpone the event or to do a virtual version. I know some of them did respond and they are working on virtual versions. And once those have taken place, we will be notified so that one of us or more of us can attend. And then those that are waiting to postpone, they will let us know when they do that. And then one or more of us will make sure that we're included in that. Any questions regarding that, the report? And I have kept all of you updated just via email. So I know a lot of you have seen this information. We just haven't had a chance to be together and discuss it. So that's really all the treasurer's report. I mean, it's we're just kind of in limbo right now and just working with everybody the best we can. And, you know, this is, so I just want to commend everybody for their efforts. So let's move into old business. All right, so status of 2020 grant recipients. The update, it's kind of tied into the treasurer's report because nothing has really changed about the treasury. We're just processing reimbursements as they're coming in. And so let's move to the 2020 grant reception. Now, our grant reception was originally scheduled for, what is this, June? I'm losing track, everybody. So May. So it was originally scheduled for May. And again, I made an executive decision. I talked to all of you individually to let you know that we kind of had no choice but to cancel it. And everybody understood. So we do need to have a discussion now on what we want to do as far as recognizing our grant recipients. How do you feel about perhaps moving the grant reception into October, maybe, and just seeing how things are? I went ahead as in an executive capacity. I did go ahead just to have a date on the calendar, and I looked at the second Wednesday in October at the Harwich Cultural Center. Again, we don't know what their status will be in October, but just to have something that we might be able to work from or not work from. So I want to open up the floor for just to have a discussion about the grant reception and what your thoughts are about that.
Tina,
Yes,
Rosie here. I thought it was a Thursday.
Oh, Thursday. I apologize.
October 8th.
Thank you very much. I've been in so many meetings and I apologize.
Okay.
Probably another day for another meeting.
October 8th was the date that you had set aside.
Thank you very much, Roseanne. Thank you for that clarification. So October 8th is the date that we penciled in, just to have a date. Any discussion around that? And just raise your hand so I can see that you want to speak. Chris?
I think that that's all we can do is just hope for the best and hope that the buildings open at that people have completed as much as they can of their events, and we can go from there.
All right. Anybody else?
You can't see me.
Yes, go ahead. Sorry about that. Let me move my little button over.
Yeah.
There we go. Now I
Yeah.
can see you.
Yeah, I don't know how to move that thing, but it's okay. I don't need to see myself. Yeah, I just wanted to jump in and say a couple of things. First is that even though I'm not going to be officially a member of the Cultural Council in October, as I said previously, I am willing to shepherd this process along since I've been through it twice. We had started some preliminary things. I think we just need to go back to the drawing board and kind of start fresh, you know, once we are clear on the date. What I do know is that I have lined up one of Matt Cinto's musicians from the Cape Cod Chamber Orchestra, and he did say that that was still a go. Okay, this is June, October is several months away, you know, but I have a lot of material that I can pull together at some point when we're a little bit more certain about that event taking place.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Lorinda? And you may need to, it sounds, I'm not hearing you.
Oh.
Hold on one second. Let me just take a look over here. I'm not seeing that your mic, oh, there you go. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to say I was going to ask that question about Roseanne because I know she won't be with us in October. So thank you, Roseanne. And I agree. I think October is a time that is conservative, and we have to hope for the best.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Charlie?
I'm wondering if we should have a backup plan vis-a-vis maybe some kind of a virtual recognition. Because I've noticed that many of the schools, they get their choirs together individually online, but they're able to group them together so that there's a community. And I'm just wondering if we could maybe have a backup plan and maybe talk to some people about how we might be able to engineer that.
Okay, sounds good.
Particularly given the resurgence question, you know, if this comes back, which, you know, nobody knows at this juncture, but I really think in order for us to be ongoing, we should have a good backup plan.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Charlie. Before we move into talking about a backup plan, let's first have a motion on the floor that we are going to at least have October 8th as our first choice. Let's go ahead and at least put that motion forward, vote on that, and then we can move into what our backup plan is. So if everybody's in agreement, may I have a motion to move that we consider October 8th?
I'll make a motion to consider October 8th at the Cultural Center for our event.
Thank you, and I'll need a second.
I'll second that.
All right, I think I saw Kathy's hand first. Thank you, though, Charlie. So Kathy Tian has seconded that motion. So again, and we've discussed it. Is there anything else anybody else wants to say before we take a vote? All right, so we're going to take a roll call vote again, Roseanne, just because we're remote. We have to do everything roll call. So Lorinda, and we're voting in favor of that motion. Lorinda?
Yay.
Okay, Dinah? Thank you. Roseanne Shapiro?
Yes.
Thank you. Charlie?
Yay.
Kathy?
Yay.
Chris?
Yay.
And I'm a yay. So that's unanimous. So we'll record that October 8th. That'll be our first choice. Now, Charlie, let's move into a backup plan. So you're proposing that we come up with a plan just in case buildings aren't open and whatever we might be in October. So we can open up a discussion based on a backup plan. Would you like to lead that, Charlie, or anybody have a thought about a backup plan?
Well,
Roseanne?
again,
Sorry, Charlie, go ahead.
no, not knowing the, you know, the technical approach to that, you know, obviously it can be done because we've seen it done. So, you know, I'd be happy to look into that and see how it would be, you know, put together. And then if we just invited the, you know, the award recipients to be online, and maybe we could organize some kind of a thank you or, you know, welcome, however, you know, we might be able to at least make that a positive thing going forward.
Okay, good idea. Roseanne?
Yeah, I know you had talked about virtual, and you talked about, you know, the things you see where there's all these people who were recorded separately. We just did that with my choir. And I just have to say, there were a handful of us, okay, like maybe a dozen at the most. And it was a major big deal. And maybe what we could do, and again, we would need to talk with somebody who's very tech savvy, is to just have people record something and figure out a way to show it, perhaps not all on one screen, but kind of like a cross between a regular everybody in one place thing and a Zoom, but not a Zoom. Okay, I know it's something that Monica Woods does with the Open Mic Classical, where you have different people lined up and each person gets to be the star.
If everybody could just stay off mic unless you're speaking, that way we don't get the feedback. Thank you. And Dinah, you had your hand, so go ahead.
Yes, I understand. With music, it's very complicated, trying to coordinate voices from different places or any kind of musical event from different places. But what we're talking about is just, or Charlie, what you're suggesting is some way of having something like this with more people. Is that correct? I'm trying to understand what you're describing. Because certainly these kinds of events can take place with many, many people. I have seen that as well. So I don't think it's undoable. But you know, Roseanne, in terms of what you're talking about, it sounds like it was a musical event, which is much more complex to try to coordinate with different voices of different places or different instruments.
So, thank you. And Kathy, before I call on you, the one thing I want us to all think about is it will be a public meeting, because if we're all there in the capacity of the Harwich Cultural Council, it is a public meeting. So we would have to post it as such. And given, I would need to check with the town clerk's office just to see how they would guide us, because I don't know if we would be, first of all, they have to approve it. And it would probably be this platform unless we got permission to do it on another platform. So I do think, I hear you, and I think it's a great idea. There are some permissions I think we have to kind of go through to do it remotely. So I just want to kind of put that out there. Kathy?
I think it would be a wonderful way for people to learn more about the different programs that receive the awards and to see all the good things that they're doing with them, and just to know more about what the Cultural Council does, especially as we move forward. So I think it would be a great idea. I'm not technical and I wouldn't know how we're going to do it, but I know that the teachers do all kinds of things. Even with my third grade granddaughter, they did a play with each one of them having different parts somehow. So it must be doable. But
Anybody else?
thanks.
So here's what I'm going to propose, because it is very technical. It would be a technical thing, and I think we would want to, but as the chair, I can just speak for myself. I would probably lead it like I normally would, but I don't really want to be keeping up with the technical and trying to lead. I think that would be too much. So I think what I would ask is that the subcommittee perhaps talk amongst yourselves, come up with an idea, and let's see what permissions we need. Now, we are going into the summer, so we technically aren't meeting. However, we could call a special meeting together if we needed to, or we could meet back in September, kind of see how things are playing out. And if it looks like we need the backup plan, then we can do all the permissions then. Does that make sense? Roseanne? Oh, I think your mic.
Yeah, okay.
Right, there we go.
Okay. I know what I said in terms of my availability. I'm not sure how much I want to get into all this detail about permissions and technical stuff, particularly over the summer. And I forget who's on the grant subcommittee, the reception subcommittee. I probably have it in my notes somewhere. But I think that there are enough people in that group without me to take care of all that detail about how to go about it if we do it remotely, et cetera, et cetera. I see my role as more the actual event, how we're going to have it, what we need. Of course, if we have it remotely, you don't need to worry about refreshments, which is a huge part of it. So, I mean, that's the piece that I'm most connected with. And so that my role is really going to be maybe dependent upon what the final product is going to look like in terms of being remote or in person. You know, and I hate to be equivocating about that, but that's where I'm at.
That's perfectly fine, Roseanne, and I appreciate that honesty. So here is what I'm hearing. So what I'm hearing is that we're all okay with the October meeting. That's our first choice. And then we might want to wait this out and see what happens. So should we just wait maybe until, our September meeting is the first Thursday of September. So we could come back at that time and see what's happening, and then have our plan B if we need it, unless you feel like we want to keep it open. Now, we could call a special meeting, and Roseanne, I know you're stepping off, but for the rest of us, we could call a special meeting over the summer if we get wind that we are looking at closings again, and we could assemble over the summer. We just have to put it out like we would any meeting. We just have to put together an agenda and post it. So that is certainly a possibility. Would everybody be open to something like that? And I'm seeing some yeses. All right, so yes, Charlie.
You know, I'd be happy to do some research to see how we might be able to implement something if for some reason we can't meet live. I don't think it's really we know that, you know, Zoom can provide that kind of service. The town may have some way of advising us as to how to provide a service like that. But as we get deeper and deeper into these issues, you know, I think there are plenty of opportunities to figure this out between now and, you know, the deadline. So, I mean, I'd be happy to look into that and report back to the committee what's available.
Okay. So why don't we, all right, so why don't we take a motion now to we can either give it to Charlie, or we could give it to the subcommittee itself to just put together a backup plan, just to have a plan. We're not going to do anything with the plan because we don't know what we're doing. But when we come back in September, we should kind of know what we're doing. If we're moving ahead with an in-person reception, if we're not, then we've already got a backup plan of which we will have to start taking some action on. So how does that sound to everybody? We either give this to Charlie, let him put something together for us, or the subcommittee. Dinah?
Could someone clarify the members of the subcommittee, please? It was mentioned before and it wasn't clear. Does anyone have that list? Or do we know who we are?
I think it's Dinah, just from memory, Kathy, Charlie, Dinah, Roseanne. I'm happy you're not on it.
Right, I'm the only one who's not on it.
Okay, so everyone's on it except for Kathy and myself. That would actually constitute a quorum, so we do have to be careful of that. That would constitute a quorum. We've got 4 people and you're meeting and discussing. So we do have to kind of be mindful of that. Roseanne?
Okay, could you just, it's Charlie, Lorinda, Dinah, and Chris?
Well, I had signed up just to help out with food, but you know, if you're not having food, there doesn't have to be that many people ushering it along. My feeling is if Charlie takes the lead now and does the research, you know, you can share your information through email and we can have discussions. It doesn't have to be waiting for a meeting.
Right, and I just have to make everybody aware of open meeting law. We can't be discussing and deliberating in email and making decisions on behalf of our council. That's kind of the tricky part of this. But
Yeah.
what we can do is certainly do some research. You know, if one person or 2 people are taking on the responsibility of doing the research and coming up with a plan, we're not really deliberating as a group or voting on it. That'll be what we will do in September. So Charlie and maybe somebody else could come back, depending on whatever the status is at the time, make a proposal, we can have a discussion and vote on it. Does that make sense, Dinah?
So Charlie would be sort of the key person to do the research and figure out all the particulars, and then depending upon how open the town is by September, or let's say by mid-August, we should have a good idea of whether or not we're going to have in-person or remote. And if it turns out that it's remote, Charlie's already done the work, and then there's just the official green light. If it turns out that we are further ahead in terms of being open, then we go to original plan of having in-person event, and then we have all the other people around, refreshments and room set up and yada yada.
Right.
Does that?
It is for right now. Dinah, you had your hand raised. Did you have a comment or a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify again the quorum and the open meeting law that you cite. Did I understand that if there's less than 4 people, it's discussed by email because it is not a quorum, but if you have 4 people, you have to call it a meeting and you have to publicly announce.
Yeah, if you've got a quorum and it could be perceived as deliberating. Now, if it's say 3 of you, let's say Charlie, Dinah, I don't know, and you're putting together a plan, but you're not deciding on behalf of us because we haven't deliberated yet. But you could certainly come up with a proposal within your subcommittee and bring it back to present to us to have a larger discussion and a vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we need
Yeah.
3 people on.
I would assume that
3 people, yeah.
I
Charlie?
would assume that any alternative plan or, technical aspect is probably going to there's going to be some cost involved. So we'd want to get that out on the table up front to make sure that we could afford to do it based on our limited budget.
Thank you. Yeah, and we do have some funds set aside for the refreshments and things like that. We typically, I don't know off the top of my head, Roseanne, maybe you do, but $100, I can't really remember in years past.
We've never had an amount. We've always just, bought, but just try to be frugal and then submitted for reimbursement. And there's never been a question from the financial people about, oh my God, why did you spend this money? So I mean, in the last 2 years, this has been not an issue.
Yeah. And it's
But
usually,
we've never been given a specific budget for the reception.
and it's usually pretty much, I mean, it's from off the top of my head, like $100, $150. I mean, we're talking a small amount, but in our, with the grants, at Massachusetts Cultural Council allows us with the grant money they give us, or not the grant money, I'm sorry, the money they give us at the beginning of the year, that we do have permission to take a little bit of that money and set it aside to have an actual grant reception. So that bit of funding, whatever it might be, $100, $150, will come out of that part of the Massachusetts Cultural Council monies. So, but they give us an allocated amount every year from the state, and then the town helps us out and gives an allocated amount, and all of that, most of that money goes to the grant program, with just a little bit held to actually have the grant reception, of which we have historically had a physical reception and had some refreshments and a nice little flower arrangement, and just, you know, little admin expenses here and there, but it's never really been over 150, maybe 250 at the most. I don't have everything in front of me, but it's not ever been a big amount. But we do have that permission from the Mass Cultural Council to take the money they give us and to set aside a little bit of money for the grant reception, if that answers your question. Any other comments? So I think what I would like to do is to maybe entertain a motion that would authorize, I guess, 3 of you or 2 of you or 1 of you, however you feel, to just work on a backup plan over the summer. And then when we meet in September, we'll see where we are, because I don't think we're going to know where we are. And if it looks like, I don't know, July or August, that maybe things are closing down, we can always call a special meeting. I mean, so that is certainly on the table for us. We can always call it if we need to. But for right now, I would just recommend that we could just put forth a motion to authorize, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 to go and put together a proposal. Dinah?
I'm happy to volunteer to be one of those 3. If it's 3 or 1 of 2, with Charlie, I'm happy to work with Charlie on the remote aspect. And I think once we know how many people there are, we can make a motion.
Thank you, Dinah. So it sounds like Dinah and Charlie are willing to do this. Anybody else wanting to join them? Chris? Okay, so Chris. All right, so that would be within, you know, we don't tackle the quorum issue. So, all right, so let's have a motion that if somebody could just make the motion as the chair, I cannot. So if somebody can make the motion that we're giving permission to Charlie, Dinah, and Chris to work together on a backup plan, a proposal that they're going to bring to the September meeting for review, discussion, and a possible vote.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Roseanne.
I move that Charlie, Dinah, and Chris work together on a backup plan for our reception that they will bring to the full Harwich Cultural Council in September.
Thank you. Yes. A second, please.
Second.
Kathy seconded. Wonderful. Any other discussion before we take a vote? All right, we're going to do a roll call again. So this is yay or nay for the motion that Roseanne just made. Lorinda?
Yes, yay.
Thank you. Dinah?
Yay.
Thank you. Roseanne?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Charlie? Yes. Okay. Kathy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Kathy? Thank you. Chris?
Yes.
Yay.
And I'm a yay. So you can record that, I guess, 6 yays and 1 nay.
Oh, no.
Oh, you're abstaining.
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was teasing.
All right. Well, we can't tease. We have to get the accurate.
Okay,
So are you a yay?
yay.
Okay. All right. So 7 yays. Thank you. All right, so moving on to our fundraising subcommittee report. So that was kind of part, I guess, rolling into it. Charlie had sent something he wanted us to think about, kind of in the days here of COVID. We all know that our artists are struggling right now because a lot of them have had to cancel things and they're struggling. And, you know, we as a cultural council would like to be able to help them more. And I'm guessing going into next year, a lot of people are going to have some needs, and perhaps some programs and things they're going to want to put forward, maybe more so than usual, I don't know. But Charlie had a great idea, which I emailed in the agenda packet, of just how we can raise money. And I just want to refresh, because I know we're airing here on Channel 18, and probably a lot of people, if anybody is listening and interested, the funding for the Cultural Council, for the Harwich Cultural Council, comes from 3 places. The first is the Massachusetts Cultural Council gives us an allocated amount of money at the beginning of every calendar year. So in January, we get a certain amount from the Massachusetts Cultural Council. In the summer, in July, the town of Harwich has been very generous to somewhat match that that amount of money coming from the state. It's never been exactly matched, but we have certainly put forth an amount, and the town has always passed it as an article item at the town meeting. We are very, very grateful for that, because the town of Harwich has always supported our cultural programs here in Harwich and allowed us to continue this grant program. So that's the second pot of money, is the town of Harwich puts forward an amount of money. The third place is that the Cultural Council has historically always raised money in some capacity. We've done it a lot of different ways over the years. And we, at our last meeting back in February, and then of course back in January, we started to discuss some ways that we could do a fundraiser this coming year, because every year we're looking to do something. So Charlie had presented us with a wonderful idea. And Charlie, I'm going to turn this over to you so you can share it with the group and we can have a discussion about it.
Well, this is the imaginary reception, dinner, however you want to couch it. But, you know, this is an idea that actually I just saw someone else on the Cape has done this. And I'm sure, I can't remember exactly who it was. I don't know if I saw it in the Chronicle or somewhere else, but we've used this several times back in Albany, where I am from, with great success. Probably more so for the humorous aspect of it than anything else, but you know, it seems that with people staying at home, one thing or another, this is a perfect you know, way to solicit you know, donations. And they don't have to be big. The key is really getting it to the largest amount of people. And that's, you know, I'm not sure how that would be done. You know, getting the names and addresses for mailing lists, that type of thing. And again, we can doctor this up any way that that we deem fit as far as the amounts and that type of thing. But the rough draft that I put together and that Kathy so generously edited for me, you know, it's I think it's a great idea. No chicken dinner.
I think it's a good idea. Dinah?
Yes, I love it, and it's something that we've discussed before. It's something that was in a previous situation as well. It was very successful, so I think it's definitely worth a try. I think it's very cleverly constructed, and I love your idea, Charlie. It's terrific. The one thought I had was down at the bottom, but I got down after it's all in the it's all in first person. You know, thank you for inviting me, count on me, thank goodness I don't have to attend. I won't need to pay the babysitter, very funny. I won't need to go to the hairdresser, barber, and then I am including my check payable to the Harwich Cultural Council, because to me it just flowed better to have that be the last thing and say I am including my check payable to the Harwich Cultural Council. My check for whatever it is.
Can I just,
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second, Roseanne. Hold on one quick
I
second.
can't hear Dinah.
Oh, Dinah, I'm sorry.
Her
Dinah,
sound
you
is very garbled,
okay.
and I can't.
Okay, could other people hear me?
Yes.
Am I garbled all around? I'm not garbled. I'll
You're
just
good.
say, I was saying I very much like this. I think it's great. And the one suggestion I would make about it is at the very, very bottom, where it says, please make your check payable to the Harwich Cultural Council. I would say, I am including my check. I'm enclosing my check payable to the Harwich Cultural Council, just so that it's all in the same voice at the bottom. That's all. That was my only suggestion. It's not a huge thing. It was just a thought. I thought it flowed better that way.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other discussion? Kathy?
I think it's a great idea. I think people would love it and it gets their attention. So I think we should go. And I agree with Charlie. It's just getting the addresses, the names and addresses of a mailing list. But I think we should do it.
Great. Thank you. Any other discussion? My comment on this, and Kathy, I know you and Lorinda are going to talk about this in just a minute. It's going to be the next agenda item. But my comment about this is it's a nice opportunity. Kathy and Lorinda have been working on these wonderful note cards, I guess, with the student artwork, and something that we had been talking about getting our kids involved, which I know you'll talk about in a second with where you are in that project. But one of the thoughts I had was to, if we went in the note card route, is that if somebody was like $100 or above, they would get a set of note cards. Does that make sense? So that was kind of a thought I had. Or we could just keep the note cards completely separate. Kathy, did you have a, go ahead.
If we move forward with this, I don't think we're going to have the note cards for quite a while because we have to wait for the vocational school to reopen and get a lot of things taken care of. So
Okay, thank you for that reminder. Yeah, that has slowed everything down.
great to do, but maybe by the time we do something else, we can send them.
Okay, thank you for that reminder. Dinah?
What is the thought of the timing on this, when we would like it to go out? Are you thinking over the summer or in the fall when things get started back up again? What was your thought, Charlie?
My thought was as soon as possible. I just think that, before too many other organizations have the same idea.
Yes, I agree. So what is the process for finding names? And that's a sensitive issue, actually.
Right, and I think in many cases you can buy a mailing list, and someone may have a mailing list for the town of Harwich. Certainly the town does, but I doubt that I think they'd be reluctant to. I'm not sure. I don't want to speak out of turn, but that's that personal information. Where do we dig that up? That's the key.
Right. Chris?
I wonder if Cindy would help us out on putting it on the website, the Harwich Chamber website, or promote it like she's been doing with the restaurants and the businesses and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, she has a very large email list, and that would be my thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think my comment would be it's certainly a partnership, and I would probably say to the subcommittee and to really put together some thoughts on a partnership, a PR, marketing. Maybe there's an opportunity at Channel 18 to actually be interviewed. I'm not quite sure, Dinah, you might be able to pipe in on that. I don't know what's going on and with this situation right now, and if there are interviews being done, but I think it does involve a marketing plan. And yeah, we could explore a lot of these questions that are being asked. Yeah. Were you going to say something? Go ahead.
Me?
Yes.
Yes, about Channel 18, I would need obviously to speak with Jamie. And I'm happy to do that. There has not been any programming that I am familiar with other than just a sort of public service announcement about a month ago saying we are coming back. But I don't know what her timeline is. I don't know. I think we're all waiting for, guidance from the state, from the town, still about what's going to be possible and what's reasonable. I do know I have had more than one request just offline from people who would like to be interviewed and have important things they'd like to share. But I need to discuss that obviously with the director. So I'm happy to do that.
Yep. So I think rather than, again, some of these things I think may need to go back to the subcommittee for the more logistical pieces. I think what we might want to do right now is agree that we're moving, agree or not agree, that we're going to move in this direction. It sounds like sooner or later, my comment would be that I would agree with Charlie. We're going to have another grant cycle coming up. And it starts, we open it up in September. So we're moving out of FY20 and going into FY21. So we are going to have a whole other grant cycle coming up, and it would be very nice to have a little bit more funding there, because I'm expecting, don't know for sure, but I know a lot of our artists in the community have really gotten hammered, and I'm expecting we might get maybe more proposals than we've had in the past, just because people are wanting to do more things, make up some of the things they've missed. So I think it would be very good if we could move in this direction sooner than later. And the logistical pieces could be kind of hammered out. The marketing pieces could be hammered out in subcommittee.
So
Dinah?
who would be the best person to speak with Cindy? That was a suggestion by Chris.
All right, so let's first, before we answer that question, let's first have a motion that we want to move in this direction. Right now I'm hearing positives, but so can somebody make a motion that we absolutely want to accept this and move forward with it?
Also move.
Okay, so Dinah's moving, and somebody second, please?
Could we have the exact wording for the minutes?
Dinah, could you come up with some wording?
Sure, I move that we go forward with Charlie's idea of the imaginary candlelight dinner and proceed to figure out how to disseminate the information in a way that we can reach as many people as possible, as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And a second? Chris
I'll
is second. Oh, okay. Lorenda's going to second. All right. Any more? That's fine. Any more discussion on this about whether to go forward? All right. So we're going to do a roll call vote again. Lorenda, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Dinah?
Yay.
Roseanne?
Yay.
Charlie?
Yay, sorry.
That's okay. Kathy?
Yay.
Chris?
Yay.
And I'm a yay. So that is unanimous. So we will be moving forward with this. Now, going back to Dinah's question about the logistical pieces, my recommendation would be that we take it to, perhaps we need to assemble a subcommittee, I guess, because this is a new idea. It does fall under fundraising. And Lorenda and Kathy have done some really fantastic work, but I don't want to just throw this out to them because it was Charlie's idea, and I would imagine Charlie may want to have some ownership in this, which is fine. So I would recommend that we form a committee for this fundraising event, and it not any more than 3 people, because we want to be mindful of quorum, so that at least you can have some discussions amongst yourself. I don't believe it's anything, if we can authorize an motion today, first of all, let's get our subcommittee, and if we can agree to support the work of the subcommittee in getting the word out. And I'm just going to trust, for myself, I don't need to micromanage how you get the word out. I trust you all, we all have great connections, and I trust you all to get the word out. So I don't know that there's a need to micromanage that. I would just ask that the subcommittee do what they feel like they need to do to get the word out. Does that make sense? So Dinah, did you have a question? Okay. So let's have so let's put together a subcommittee. no more than 3 people to actually oversee this, put it together and get the word out. So who would like to step up to that task?
I'm happy to help. I just don't know the people really who are, you know, the movers and shakers in that direction. As far as, you know, Cindy, I know very, very slightly. You know, I'm happy to help in any way I can. But my recollection was that Kathleen was the fundraising person. So I kind of I think I sent it to her first.
Okay, okay.
Just for, you know, her reaction, and I'm happy that you like the idea, and I'm happy to help in any way I can. I'll be part of the subcommittee, or however the rest of the committee feels that I can be most useful in that regard.
Thank you, Charlie. Kathy, you had your hand up.
I'd be happy to help out. I have some ideas, but I don't know everybody in town, but I know a few that we can talk to, and I'm happy to help in any way I can.
Thank you. Anybody else? So here's the other thing I'm going to say too. It doesn't necessarily just have to fall on Charlie and Kathy. We all have our own connection. We've already voted to move ahead with this. So I think we can all just step in and pass it along to our networks. I don't think we need to have a vote and analyze everybody's network. I think we all know what our networks are, and it's just basically you're passing along information. So, so you're just taking what is created. So Charlie and Kathy, if you could possibly work together to make this look nice and pretty as maybe a PDF or something that we can actually send.
I'd be happy to work up I've got some cardstock, I've got a good printer, you know, I can do something colorful, and then maybe send it around for, you know, your approval, and then we just have to figure out how to print it in bulk, so to speak.
So how does everybody feel though about printing? It is going to be an expense. I guess in my head, I was kind of thinking a lot of this would be e-version, but are you thinking we need to print this?
Ooh.
Yeah, no, I don't think we do. I you, Tina. I think the e-version could be very effective, and doesn't have a cost, and actually could spur more of an immediate reaction versus a piece of mail that gets put into the pile and forgotten about.
Yeah, yeah. That is a really good idea, and I've actually gotten invitations to social events at people's houses that are totally emailed. Everything is done emailed. You respond everything, and it's also as somebody who's very green, it's less paper wastage.
That, of course, that brings up the issue of does everybody read email? Does everybody have a computer? And I think a lot of folks aren't. I know a number of people that have nothing to do with the internet whatsoever. But I agree that in this day and age, you know, the internet is really the way to convey pretty much anything. Where do we put it? How do we get that to individuals? If you're going to put it on like the chamber site or someplace like that, you know, certainly the people that sign in are going to see it, but how many people do that customarily?
Good question. Lorinda, you had a comment to make. Go ahead, and then I'll come back to Charlie's.
What I was envisioning was not so much just a direct email, but an invitation, and there are applications out there that come through at an invitation format, which usually gets my attention when I see that versus, you know, within the line of emails. So that's one way. And Charlie, I think your points are very valid, especially in a community that doesn't interact digitally. So possibly we do a mix and make some decisions around that. I was thinking, I wonder if there's anyone who would donate the invitations and print them at no charge. And that would certainly keep the budget down.
And you're right, Lorinda, because I belong to a club on the Cape and I get an invite, but everybody is clued into the fact that they're going to get the invite, so they're looking for it. You know, again, I bow to, you know, anybody's suggestion in this regard. It's where we can put it that it gets the most attention, I guess.
So, Roseanne, were you, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, we have that same kind of issue in my congregation, that there's a lot of information that gets sent out via email, but there are some people who don't have computers. They don't want to have anything to do with computers. And there are other options that are available, but we kind of know who those people are because they've expressed a preference. So I don't know how you do that with a more amorphous group of people out there somewhere in Harwich.
So, all right, so here's what I'm going to propose. Charlie and Kathy have already stepped up, and thank you very much. I will join you. In between the three of us, we can get together and talk through a marketing plan. And again, I feel very confident once we get that hammered out that all of us, we can just send it out to each other because it doesn't violate open meeting law. We're just sending this out and asking everybody to pass it along electronically. And then whatever the marketing plan the three of us come up with, we'll begin to work that plan. I have a lot of ideas, and we'll just, rather than to hammer all the details out here, we'll just talk amongst ourselves because we've already agreed that we're going to do this. And I don't think we need to hammer out the logistics here. And then we can talk too within ourselves about the print piece of it. If we feel like we need to have some print versions, then I believe I have the authority as the chairperson to make that decision. I will confirm that. And so that way we can at least move that forward and not have to wait till we come back in September and make a decision on that. So that's what I would say, if everybody is good. Charlie?
The other thing we might be able to do is make some posters and put them in prominent places where they won't get torn down by the local authorities.
Yeah, well, you and Kathy and I can sit and talk about that. Yes, good ideas. So is everybody good with that? So if Charlie, Kathy, and myself just kind of oversee this, and we'll work on getting this nice and tidied up and come up with a marketing plan. Does everybody feel good that the three of us are going to go ahead and move forward? And then we will let you know when we have it ready, and you can send it out to your networks. Does that work? Okay. Does anybody feel the need for an official vote, or are we good with that? Because we've already kind of voted to do this anyway. Mm-hmm. Roseanne, were you going to say something?
I actually thought of something when you were talking about our funding streams before, when you talked about we get money from Mass Cultural Council and from the town and fundraising. Because town meeting isn't going to happen until the end of September 28th, will that have an impact on our funding stream?
I can't really, well, that's a good question. That is a very good question. I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that. Okay. And which makes this all the more timely. Yeah, I don't know how to answer that.
Okay.
But it's a good question, and it's one I can put on my list and check in. Ed McManus is our liaison, so perhaps maybe I'll throw it over to him and see if he can give us some guidance.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So if everybody's good with where we are, can we move on to the agenda? I mean, through the agenda? Is everybody good with that? Or is any other comments on this? Okay. So Kathy and Lorinda, I know you were going to give us an update on working with the students and the artwork. So go ahead.
So the good news is that we were allowed to go into the cultural center to retrieve things from our studios. So I now have in my possession the artwork that was contributed by the students. I had picked it up, I think like 2 or 3 days before this COVID broke out. The day that it broke out, I had a meeting over at the tech school that needed to be canceled, of course. So in the meantime, Chris Banks had given us some information about a printer who we could send digitized files to and begin to find out what a budget might be there. So I do plan next week to take photographs of all of the artwork. Kathy and I just had a phone discussion a few days ago, and we're going to continue with the idea of creating note cards. The artwork seems to be suited for playing cards also. There are a lot of representation of Red River Beach. And so, and some of them, not sure if they'll be suited to actually print a note card. So I'm going to take photographs and start to make a list of how which category they fit into, meaning note cards, playing cards, puzzles, or any artistic rendition of Harwich. So I'm just checking my notes. The other thing that we did, Kathy put together a beautiful letter that we've sent over to Tina. And it's a letter that's addressed to Bernadette Waystack and the Monomoy students, thanking them for answering our request. I don't know that it's necessary that I read the letter. Tina, just some feedback on that. And we're planning to follow through on getting that letter out. We did hear from Bernadette that there's no rush in returning the artwork to the students because they are seniors and graduating. Bernadette felt she could return that artwork to them at a later time. So that gave us a lot of breathing room on that topic. Once things begin to open up, and clearly with the tech school, it won't be until September that I'll be back in touch to meet with Mr. Marks, because we know that that is more of a volunteer effort on their part. So that means no cost coming out of a budget. I'm just looking over our notes. Oh, we had an idea that came up when Kathy and I spoke, and that was once we get to the point of having things printed and we actually have products to sell, I was wondering whether the Saquatucket Harbor Art Shacks and people who rent those out, if 1 or 2 people would be willing, in addition to their items, also have our items for sale. And I don't know if there are any restrictions or, to that idea. So if anyone has any feedback on that, please definitely speak up. And that pretty much covers it. Perhaps, I don't know if anyone has questions. We're happy to answer questions as well.
Yeah, I love the idea of trying to hook in with the artisan shacks at the harbor. They're really quite wonderful. I think one thing you would need to think about is just the timing of it, and that this, to try to have that for this season, maybe a little ambitious. And I don't mean to diminish anything that you're doing, but just the timing of it, particularly with the schools and getting the artwork and getting everything printed. But it would be great to be able to hook into that site at some point, because what you're doing is so Harwich.
Yeah, I agree with you, Roseanne, that this summer might be a little too soon, but I love the idea. And once these products are available, I'm envisioning that once we create products, it might come in phases. We might have 1 or 2 initially. We might expand upon that. And the idea itself can be duplicated with another class. So if it's not this summer, it's something we can do in the coming summers. I don't see it one time only thing. It's a continuation of the idea.
What I will do, Lorinda, and I may invite the Mass Cultural Council. I think what I'm going to do is reach out. Maybe I'll copy you and Kathy on the email. I'm sure somebody in the state has maybe done something like this and may have some answers as it relates to the logistical pieces, because I'm curious about how we could sell things. What is our entity? Because we're not really a nonprofit. So there are a lot of questions that I think we need to get some answers to. And I love where this is going. I think this is fantastic. So why don't I just take that next step and just to see if we can get some guidance on some of the questions that you had put forth.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you.
And I'll just copy you and Kathy on that so that we're all kind of in the loop. And I will say too, the Mass Cultural Council has been very, very good about holding these community meetings, and I've gotten invited quite a bit of them as the chair. So a lot of people are getting together and sharing different things. So this might be something I take, and maybe the two of you could join me, maybe, and we could throw this question out and see how we're guided. So
That's a great.
Yeah, so I'll follow up on that. Any other questions, comments?
I just realized I made the comment about photographing all of the artwork, and then from there I'll send them over to the printer that that Chris recommended, just to get a sense of what he has to say and any ideas and cost involved, just to have that as a backup plan as well.
Okay. And I'll just say too, I just love this. I mean, anytime I think we can get our young artists involved in anything like this is just a bonus. And it was my hope that, you know, it had COVID-19 not visited all of us, but it was my hope that had this moved forward, that our kids could have joined us at the grant reception and been recognized. So at some point, when we do get to the finish line on this project, I'd love to be able to recognize these young artists in some way. Chris?
I'm wondering, there's two things. Bob is an independent printer, and I'm not sure, you know, what his status is now. I'm hoping he's well and getting back to you at some point. The other thing is your decision about the size of the note card. And of course, it comes with an envelope. So that would factor into your cost of what, you know, you're going to do. You could probably do the bigger one or the smaller one, whatever you want. And he's the type of guy that would run off a few for you to get started. And then you could do a few more and so on and so forth. So you're not put out like a big company and saying you have to order 500 of them right away. So that's why I like dealing with this local fellow. I like dealing local anyway, but that might be a plus. The other thing I'm wondering is these children that are kids, adult, you know, adolescents that are doing these pieces, do we have permission to use these? Do we need permission from them? Because you're photographing them, you're selling them as ours, and they're not. So I'm wondering if we need a letter of permission from them.
Kathy?
When we requested them to be involved in this project through their teacher, Bernadette, we told them what we were going to use them for. So I don't think they have a problem with us.
I understand that, but when you send a photograph into the newspaper, you have to have the name of the person that took it, you know, and as ownership. And so, you know, just even if you did one letter and they all sign it, you know, something where, I don't know how Bernadette's going to get that now. The kids are gone probably, but.
Yeah.
And again, I want to be mindful.
They were excited to have them used.
Yeah.
So
And
that was.
And it's my understanding, Kathy and Lorinda, I believe, because I think we talked about this several meetings ago, is that we absolutely will be giving the credit. Like if it is like printed on a card, I think it photo by, somebody. So I think we had talked about that once before and agreed that that was part of the project.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So, but you bring up a good point though, Chris, and something that we just might want to clarify before these particular kids do leave, because they are seniors. And, but it is a good point. Maybe we'll just double check. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that one of the reasons that we decided to go with students rather than established artists is the whole issue of copyrights and permissions and the whole legal piece. And
Right.
that it was a lot simpler with students as long as they're given credit for the
Right.
artwork. Yeah.
Right. And I think it was my understanding, and I don't know if I was incorrect in this, Kathy, but I think this was part of maybe a project they were working on in the class too, perhaps, maybe?
Yes. It
Okay,
was.
that's all right. So it was part of classwork, and okay, all right. It's a little bit, to me, I think, not that it's exact, but it's a little bit like an internship, I guess, or portfolio. It's like when we had our Harwich Cultural Council logo designed, we had a young artist from the tech school that did it and got a lot of credit for it. And it's something she can use in her portfolio. So as these students go on, this is something they can have in their portfolio. My work was featured here. So it was kind of, I think we had thought through kind of the win-win for us and for the students. So I do believe a lot of that was negotiated up front. Yes, Kathy?
Just a comment on the printing too. I think our ideal is that the vocational school will print them, but we're going to ask for information from a private printer to get a feel for the digitizing process and what he thinks.
Right.
To show us a little bit about it, because the school will charge us for the materials, but not for the actual printings.
Right.
And to
Right.
have the students involved there
Right.
too.
And exactly. And when that comes back up again, just a reminder, and just because I am very mindful of our time. I know we've got a meeting behind us here on the platform, so I do want to kind of stick to our agenda here. But along that line regarding the printer, because of the way our funding is set up with the Cultural Council, we do have what we call the gift account. So anytime we raise our own money, it goes into what we call a gift account. And that's where, so if we have to pay printing, if we have to do any of these things up front, then it will come out of our gift account. And then hopefully we'll replenish it with what we make from it. So it comes back in. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that we can't take any funding from the town, because that is specifically for grants. And Massachusetts Cultural Council, theirs is specific for grants with a percentage that we can use for administrative fees. So I will be monitoring our expenses and making sure they fall within the guidelines. So I just feel like I need to say that. Anything else on this before we move on? And thank you both for your very good work. Very, very good work. Yeah. All right, so moving into new business, I did send a link. The Massachusetts Cultural Council is putting, for artists and our performers, they have a survey, and I forwarded all of that to you, the COVID-19 recovery survey. They are interested in hearing from artists and writers and cultural people. So please just make sure you're passing that out to your networks. I know that they're looking to just gather information, because it will help guide the Massachusetts Cultural Council on what legislation to propose or to follow, or to, put whatever, working with lobbying, I guess, working with some of our legislators. So that information is very helpful. And if you need that again, just send me an email and I'll be glad to forward that link to you again. But just to get it out to as many people as possible. And I'll probably maybe even share it with Caleb, who actually puts things on our webpage. Maybe that would be a nice link there for the town as well. So I'll ask him to add that. Any questions about that? All right, moving on. Our officers. First of all, I want to just take a moment to thank Roseanne Shapiro for your years of service. Roseanne, you've been with us 3 years? 3 years. So thank you, Roseanne. Normally, we would have been in the grant reception and we would have recognized you in front of everybody with a nice gift. And so that will come later. That will come later. But I just want to publicly thank you very much for your 3 years of service to the Cultural Council, particularly as the secretary. So thank you. And we're going to miss you. Yeah. All right, so for next year, we do need a chair, a secretary, treasurer if we need that. So I'm going to open the floor. We'll start with the chair because we tend to, at the end of, or going into our June meeting, we tend to kind of elect the next slate for the next year. I'm going to open up the floor for the chair. If anybody wants to make a nomination, nominate yourself, nominate someone else. We do need a chair going into the next year.
I would like to nominate Tina Gaines.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else want to nominate anyone else? No one? Okay, so I will graciously accept your nomination. I will be happy to serve as chair again. I cannot recall if we need to, I guess we need to accept this nomination. So we're going to go around the room. I can't make the motion. Dinah, since I guess you nominated me, if you could make the motion to accept the nomination for me to be chair for the next year.
So, slate all at once. I thought that.
You know what? Yeah, that would be a better idea, assuming we have a slate.
So we make a slate.
Yeah, why don't we just.
And then make a motion to accept the slate.
So why don't we just do it individually, because I am a little concerned we may not have a slate to put forward. So Dinah, why don't you just move for me as the chair and we'll just take a vote for that.
Okay, I move that we nominate and accept Tina Gaines as the chair for the next year.
I'll second that.
Council.
All right, so Dinah, I'm going to take Dinah's motion with Charlie's second. We'll go around the room, yay or nay. Lorinda? Yay. Dinah, you made the motion, so I assume it's a yay.
Yeah.
Roseanne?
Yay.
Charlie?
Yay.
Kathy?
Yay.
Chris?
Yay.
And I will accept. So I guess I'm a yay.
Yay.
And we'll work on it for the next time, because I am at the end of the next year, I have to step down according to the criteria put forth by the Massachusetts Cultural Council. So we'll work on that this year. All right, so for the secretary position, if we could open that up for a nomination for secretary.
I nominate.
He said that she would be secretary.
Well, we didn't do an official, yeah, but
No.
Roseanne, go ahead. You're going to make the motion or somebody?
I nominate Donna Lane,
There you go.
as secretary.
secretary.
And we'll need and Chris seconded. Dinah, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And we'll go around the room to accept. Lorinda, yay or nay? Okay, Dinah, and you've already accepted,
Yay.
so we're going to take the yay. Roseanne,
Yay.
Charlie,
Yay.
Kathy,
Yay.
Chris,
Yay.
and I am a yay as well. So that's unanimous. So we have a chair and a secretary. Yay! Treasurer. Is anyone interested in, yes, thank you. Is anybody interested in serving as treasurer next year? And I kind of knew this was going to happen.
I would like to nominate Charlie for treasurer.
Well,
Second.
I appreciate that, but I have to tell you, I've got 2 other obligations. Plus, I'm still working, so I'd prefer not to take that on because I'm not a financial guy, and you know, I'm a little queasy around other people's money.
Okay. All right. Any other nominations? So here's what I'm going to suggest for next year, because it kind of happened this year. We're just going to roll the responsibilities. It's not a traditional treasurer because this role does not involve you running to the bank and collecting money. It's simply a bookkeeping role. and it's meetings with the town accountant, who is fabulous. So why don't we just agree, and let's just have a motion, which might fix it for this year, and the next year after, you can decide kind of what you want to do. But for this year, and I can't, well, I'm the chair, so I can't make the motion, so I'm just going to put out a suggestion. Let's just take the treasurer responsibilities as we know them, which is primarily bookkeeping and making sure the grants get processed and the reports get filed. Let's roll it into the responsibility of the chair. So the chair will assume the responsibilities for the bookkeeping and reporting as it relates to grant funding. So if somebody could just make that motion, that way we don't have a chair. All right, Dinah?
We don't have a treasurer.
A treasurer, sorry, yeah, Dinah?
I move that we roll the responsibilities of the treasurer into the role of the chair.
Thank you. Yes, for the next year. Thank you. And a second?
A second.
Okay, Chris seconded. So we're gonna go around and do a roll call. So Lorinda, yay or nay? Yay, I believe you said. Dinah?
Yay.
Yay.
Roseanne?
Yes.
Yay.
Charlie?
Yay.
Kathy?
Yay.
Chris?
Yay.
And I'll take a yay on that. All right, so that takes care of that. Dinah?
Thank you.
Dinah, did you? Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right, and let's see, meeting schedule for next year. Is everybody okay, assuming, well, okay, is everybody okay with the schedule that we have now, which is the second Thursday of every month, September through June at 4 o'clock? So we don't need to decide if it's going to be in person or virtual yet. We'll make that determination as we go. I, as the chair, will try to stay on top of that just to see what happens in September. If things open up, our intention would be to hopefully go to the cultural center, but we'll have to make that decision. If they open, I would expect there might be some 6 feet rules. There might be a mask rule. I don't know. So for now, I will just say, let's not worry about the venue. It will either be virtually, which we'll have to figure out with the town on how to do that, or we'll move into a physical venue and sort out whatever. So let's not worry about the venue for now, but is everybody okay with the schedule?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're going to pick back up in September, second Thursday of the month, and we'll stay on top of whether that'll be an in-person or a virtual meeting. Any comments? Questions? All right, membership recruitment. So I just wanted to just say, and anybody listening on Channel 18, we will have 3 spots open. Roseanne is leaving us, which opens up another spot. We currently have 2 vacancies. So we actually have 3 vacancies here on the Harwich Cultural Council. It's a good group. As you see, we're all very passionate about the arts and culture. If our listening audience is interested into culture and the arts, if you're passionate and you want to see our artists and our writers and our performers working and supporting them, please join us. We have 3 spots, and then you would basically just apply through I guess the town clerk's office. No, well, you would apply through the town. So if you're interested, just reach out to me. Yeah.
Isn't it the select board?
Yeah, I think you have to apply. I think you have to go pick the citizens activity form up at the town clerk's office, I think.
Right.
And I think it's also on the website. It's also on the
Tina,
website.
is there a way to advertise or publicize? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we can talk it up ourselves. It's actually the town's responsibility to advertise it. It really is the town's responsibility. But we can, amongst ourselves, talk it up. I mean, as we've always done. You know, when we see people out in the community we think would really do this council justice and be a wonderful welcome voice, we have always reached out and asked people to think about joining us. So, but yeah, we could post it on our Facebook page, which I know we've done in the past. And we'll just do our own, you know, we'll talk it up, but it is the town. The town does have to keep the list and I know they've worked really hard on the select board to keep vacancies, you know, monitoring the various vacancies.
Yeah.
Chris?
In the Times and the Chronicle, there's a section of community news, which if somebody has a promotion or this or that, they tell it. And I'm wondering if that could be put in there.
That's a good idea. I'll ask the town clerk because I don't know what the rules are. I'm not sure if we on our own can go and post something like that, or if I need to get some an approval to do that. So I'll ask the town clerk's office to see if they would do that or we would do that. So it's a good idea.
Yep.
That's a good idea. Yeah, and I do know the Voter Information Committee has done a really good job in the past about really promoting the vacancies on the various boards and committees. And maybe I'll reach out to them too to see if they've got anything in the works. I know I've gone and talked about the Cultural Council with them. They've actually done it a couple of times. So I'll see what they've got going on too. All right, any other comments? Okay, so the last couple of items, our grant application for 2021, which we talked about earlier, it does open up September 1. So on the 1st of September, our grant application process opens again for FY21, and it's all automated or electronic. So the link opens. I usually send out a press release. We kind of make several announcements about it. So that will open on the 1st, and it will run through mid-October, whatever that first Monday. It usually ends right around Columbus Day. So right around that, it closes. And then we get the information from the state on who's applied. And then we begin that whole process. So just kind of a reminder, we're getting ready to go into another grant cycle. Questions, comments? So if anybody's listening and watching our meeting here, if you are interested in applying for a grant, it's a wonderful opportunity. And if you live in Harwich or serve the townspeople in Harwich in a cultural or artistic way, this is a wonderful opportunity. So September 1, on the town webpage for the Harwich Cultural Council, we will be posting a link that will take you to the application page, and you can begin your process there. Which leads me to a grant information session. For the last 2 years, we have had a session, kind of an information session at the Cultural Center. I would love to do it again, but we don't know what's happening. So let me just ask this one question. Do we want to do it again? Dinah?
I think it's extremely helpful. I think who want to apply find it extremely useful to be able to come and ask questions and to hear some sort of presentation. And given the situation now and what we might anticipate to be the situation in the fall, I think it would be easily adaptable to a web format of some sort.
I agree.
I think we should consider doing it regardless of whether it can be done in person or not.
I agree.
Yeah, I've attended a few what are called webinars, and I don't know what technology is available, but it maybe using that format of having presentation. You do the presentation, and then having a way for people to ask questions either through a chat box or some other part of the technology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yes, Dinah, did you have your hand raised? Okay. So here is the tricky thing, and I agree with all of you. I actually, before we close today, would like to have somebody make a motion that we go ahead and agree that we're doing this, preferably virtually. The logistical piece of it is to get permission from the town. So I will have to check into that because I don't know how that works with the town, because everybody knows we had to really, to get this meeting took a while. So I just need to check in to see, are we supposed to use the town's platform? Do we have permission to go and use another platform? If we have a quorum, Do we need to post it if we don't have a quorum? So there are some logistical things that I need to look into. But what I'd like to do now is just have a motion that we absolutely want to have an information session, and it will either be virtually or in person. So can somebody make that motion?
I move that the Harwich Cultural Council offer a grant information session this summer.
Thank you. A second?
And that's,
Dinah seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, so let's do a roll call. Lorinda, yay or nay?
Yay.
Hi, Dinah?
yay,
Roseanne?
Yay.
Charlie?
Yay.
Kathy?
Yay.
Chris?
Yay.
And I'm a yay. So we will move forward with that, and I hesitate to pick a date until I figure out how we might do this virtually. So if everybody's good as the chair, it is my understanding that some of these decisions I can just kind of make. I think per open meeting law, I think we can via email go back and forth on setting dates. So I think that is allowable. So I don't think we have to do an open meeting. I don't think it's a violation to do that. So I think what I will do is once I get some logistical things figured out, I will send an email and we'll come up with a date amongst ourselves. And then we can publicize whether it's virtual, in person, given the circumstances. Okay, does that sound good?
Yep.
All right, so that brings us to the end of our agenda for today, because I know we've got a meeting, I think at 6, that's going to be right behind us. Any final comments or questions before we close? Dinah.
yes, in Roseanne leaving and my assuming the duties of the secretary, I'm wondering if there is a body of information that I should be receiving in some way, if there's anything to pass on, if it's all something we can do by email, or whether we need to meet in person.
So
A little garbled.
okay, so Roseanne, what Dinah's asking is that maybe the two of you connect via telephone or maybe by email, just to kind of in the passing off of the secretary duties. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, and I just have to say that this has been the most challenging meeting because normally I input everything right into my laptop and I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I've been handwriting, and I feel like I hope I've gotten everything, but I can give you some shortcuts, little tips, things that I've done that I find very helpful. So sure, yeah, I'll just email you and we can just figure a time to connect.
I'm very familiar with the business of minutes taking. It's a role that I've filled in other organizations for many years. So
Yeah.
it's about the specific information for the Harwich Cultural Council, anything that you may be holding that should be passed along to me. And
Okay.
I'm happy to receive any helpful tips as well. So,
Okay, glad to be of service.
if there's documentation or anything like that needs to be passed on to the secretary that you are responsible for, that I will now be responsible for.
Right. Yeah. So the two of you can connect, and if I have to, Dinah, you and I also will talk too as secretary and chair, so we'll make sure. It pretty much follows the agenda. Yeah, and I think every secretary has their own style to it. So.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And before we call for adjournment, Kathy Tian, happy birthday.
Yes.
Happy birthday. Kathy. Thank you for spending your birthday
Happy
with us.
birthday.
It was wonderful to spend it with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Supreme sacrifice.
Thank
Yeah.
you for
Have a great day. This is the frosting on the cake.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
I hope it's a good evening and has been a good day for you. All right, so we are at, I'm going to take, let's motion to adjourn the meeting. It's 5:35. Would somebody like to move to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Charlie moves to adjourn.
Second.
May I have a second? Chris seconded. We have to do a roll call again. Lorinda, yay or nay? Yay. Dinah?
Yay.
Roseanne?
Yay.
Charlie?
Yay.
Kathy?
Yay.
Chris?
Yay.
And I'm a yay. The meeting is adjourned at 5:35. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And thank you to our viewers. If